Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of the Candid Convo on Connect and Networkify. I'm Nivetha and I'm doing my executive MBA at IAM Kozhikode. The cohort that I am part of is very rich and the people here are expert in whatever they do. And this conversation is an idea brought in to introduce ourselves with each other so that we know them better, so that we can connect and networkify. So, getting into the episode, the guest that we have today is a person with sense of humor. That is how we know him in the class. But he is more than that. He is like a treasure trove. When I tried to unlayer each part of his brain and thought process, I was stunned because all his insights were very deep. Starting from being a studious student to whatever he is in career today is all because he was able to analyze his strength and weaknesses. So I hope you will enjoy the insightful conversation. So let's get into it. Hey Harshit, welcome to the Candid Convo on Connect and Networkify. Tell me how you're doing.
Hi Niveta, I'm doing. How about you?
Doing good. I'm really excited and happy having you here because I
Same.
know how much you have. You're good at humor sense. So I'm expecting a lot more fun in this episode.
Surely. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so the first striking thing that I noticed in your LinkedIn profile is your transition. You started your career, like let me start it from your educational journey. You
Mm-hmm.
did your undergrad and postgrad in pharmaceutical sciences, and then as a young lad, you were a young research scientist, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then you slowly transition to become a consultant and then business development manager. So can
Mm-hmm.
you talk something about like few words about the transitions you had
Okay.
throughout your career?
So initially, I had a plan that I'll complete my pharmaceutical education and go ahead with my MBA. But unfortunately, I was not that well prepared to do an MBA at that particular time. So I quickly joined Rainmixy Laboratories under the R&D wing, where I was basically doing a lot of pilot plant scale-up techniques. Then after that, I cracked GPAT. That's equivalent to GATE. So my All India rank was 1141. That's where I thought that let's do my master's in pharmaceutical sciences. My plan was actually to pursue PhD later after completing my MPharm, and due to certain circumstances, I thought that instead of going into a fellowship, a research fellowship where I would, rather become a junior research fellow, a JRF. Why not start pursuing a job? Because aiming for a PhD, I got admitted in Banaras Hindu University for my PhD, or I would say for my fellowship, JRF. But my thought process was that it will take a very long time, at least 7 to 9 years, exactly, to pursue the PhD. Also, a lot of things that happens in the pharmaceutical world is that you do not get enough opportunities in the research and development part. For example, the drug development, the drug discovery, and other aspects of research and development. I mean, India does not spend a lot on R&D. That's what I can say. And there are zero novel drugs, I would say, or zero new drug entities that has been created in India till date. Okay, so that was my thought process. Uh, I thought that instead of doing this, let's go into a domain where you can actually do a lot of activities related to the research domain, and that's where I moved into research publication. So Omics International was entirely into research publication. I was speaking to a lot of authors coming from different countries. I spoke to authors from almost 50, 60 odd countries there. And in order to get those articles, we are actually doing a lot of digital marketing activities. And when we are doing these digital marketing activities, I got an interest, or I would say an inclination towards digital marketing. And I was doing digital marketing activities and also speaking with a number of authors. So again, that aspect of understanding the research and understanding how people behave while they are publishing their public while they are publishing their research. That actually, gave me a thought process that why not work in a startup where I'm able to deal with researchers, or I would say publishers, and also deal with uh, the basic research part. I mean, how researches happen and what all new researches are happening. So I joined a small startup called Lincoln Science, where I was a consultant there, and my work was basically, helping them to improve their business. Back then, they were doing scientific events across the globe. So there, I started doing a lot of marketing activities initially, a lot of email marketing activities, and I was speaking to a lot of universities as well to take our program. I also pitched them some ideas which are actually happening right now. I pitched them the ideas of virtual conferences and virtual meetings back in 2019. And back in 2019, in the pre-COVID era, nobody was actually talking a lot about virtual meetings. And if we look forward to now, we actually see that everything happens online. Uh, the consumer behavior has a shift from being offline to online. And after this, I joined Upgrad basically in the sales domain. It was core sales. I started doing a lot of sales activities. It was entirely B2C sales. Um, Upgrad was basically accelerating at that particular point of time. And again, COVID hit. And during the COVID initial few, I would say 2 or 3 months, sales were not that good because people were all in, a mode where they would want to save their money. The economy was actually falling down. So the confidence of the consumers was, not to spend but to save. And all of a sudden, there was a shift that people thought of upskilling themselves. Why not do an MBA, or why not do a degree, or why not do a small course, 6 months, 8 months, or 12-month course while we are working from home? And this change in mentality, again, this consumer behavior shift, actually accelerated the education sector. And my experience with speaking to a lot of researchers was that people like talking with respect to the deep rooted knowledge of that particular sector. So suppose if someone wants to do, let's say, data science, um, or someone who wants to become a product manager, in that case, you should be able to understand what the need is. The need can be desired or undesired, untapped needs, and that's where I started pitching a lot of programs. So initially in South India, specifically the Hyderabad region, I was specifically working for the AP Telangana region. So a lot of courses that we were selling were related to data science, cybersecurity, or I would say all the tech domains. And then all of a sudden, there was a shift that people also had this untapped need of doing something which is uh, uh, non-technical, and that's where I started pitching product management and digital marketing programs. So I improved the revenue by 8% in Upgrad in the digital marketing product management domain. As I was basically handling a lot of certification courses with Upgrad. So that was an amazing journey. And then I moved to this organization, which is QAI, which is again into the education sector. It's again a B2B education sector. We provide a lot of trainings and consulting to a number of organizations, um, where where we basically empower the workforce development of the organization. So having said that, if you look at my journey, it was not by default, I would say it was by design. The reason being that uh, initially, I did my master's in pharmaceutical sciences, but there was something deep inside me that I started liking to speak with a lot of people, and created a lot of, um, I would say, good connections, good relations with a lot of people whom I spoke with. And then, because this initially hit me because I was doing a lot of digital marketing and I was able to express my views, it became a source for me to reach out more people by moving into sales as well. So that's how my journey began. I would say that I have a good analytical skills where I spoke with a lot of people from the R&D sector, and I was also a part of R&D sector. This helped me to analyze the behavior of the consumers, I would say the customers who are coming into the picture. And also, I would say because I had this, huge, I would say, crush on digital marketing and sales, I moved into that domain using my analytical skills. Okay. So I'm a very different kind of khichdi, I would say, uh, where people like what I usually say because I give them a very good understanding, a deeper understanding of the product that I'm selling. So it gives me an edge. And obviously, there are certain sales techniques that I have learned over the period of time. So that's how my journey is till date.
Wow, I could see that being very wholesome, being a studious student, working on research papers, and then identifying your strength to what is sales, digital marketing, you use technologies, and the COVID pandemic situation actually helped you in this booming online education thing.
Correct.
So I think it's something beautifully designed where you're exposed to multiple like techniques and multiple exposures that you've got. So in that way, you're lucky. So
Yes.
now, being a business development manager, how is your day? What's your day?
It starts with a normal meeting, and then we start looking after or I'd say we start chasing a lot of people uh, where we try to sell them our products. In B2B, it's a bit different. In B2C, it's basically chasing a lot of people over the call. Here, we try to fix the meetings, meet them personally, and try to understand the pain points at an organizational level, and also try to understand the authoritative part in the organization because if that person is not the decision maker, then who is the decision maker? Try to understand if they even have a budget for what I'm trying to sell. Okay. And try to understand the tentative timeline because the problem with business is that sometimes the deal can take a lot of time for it to close. Okay. So again, these are some things that I look after: chasing people, meeting them, talking to them, trying to understand the pain points that they are having in the organization. Definitely it requires a consultative approach as well, because let's say if an organization struggling to have agility in their organization, for example, one of my clients whom I spoke with very recently are having a lot of problem with basically creating a structure around agility. Okay. So I need to have a good understanding of the courses that are there which I can sell or I can pitch or design a course around their specific requirements, and then also try to understand you know the exact requirement of a person who is coming from a level 1 to level 2, level 3, or a managerial level or a CEO level. So what kind of trainings are required there? So it also requires a lot of consultative approach there. So we call it consultative selling. So that's how exactly what I do. And my day usually goes on trying to find out meetings, trying to speak a lot of customers, trying to speak with a lot of key accounts, and trying to solve their needs. So that's how my day looks like. Yeah.
So I see more of empathy being there all throughout your journey because it is basically you understand the need of the customer rather selling your product directly. You customize accordingly. So
Exactly.
can
Yeah, I would say it's a difficult. I would say it's not a quality. Empathy is it's more like if there is a person standing in the rain, you need to understand how it feels to be in the rain. Okay, I mean you have to be in the rain to understand how it feels to be in the rain. If you are looking at that person and saying that that guy is standing in the rain and he's getting wet, I mean that's not empathy, by the way. You need to go in
Hmm.
the rain and understand how it feels to be in the rain. So So that's what empathy is, and it's very difficult to basically empathize with people nowadays because a lot of people get confused by the way. So any which ways, that's again a selling point, I would say, of my profile that I empathize.
Great, great. That was a good insight. So, next, the other thing that I noticed in your LinkedIn is you constantly keep on upskilling. And every certification that you have is somewhere converging to that point, which is business. So, talk about your crush with business,
So
the crush you have with business.
so basically, in the end, I would say each and every aspect of our life is business. Okay, when I say business, there is some exchange involved in it. Okay, and obviously, even if you're breathing, you're exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide. That's a business that your body is doing. Um, and the value is basically, that your body get a lot of oxygen and it throws away the toxic part. And that's again a business that even your body is doing right now. So, trying to understand it better, what exactly the problem is, and how to solve it. And that's where, I'm actually in a phase where I'm trying to, find my eureka moment where I actually crack a business problem and build a startup around it. So, uh, I did my certification business analytics, just to have an understanding that how a business problem is solved in an organization. Uh, can we try to, you know, bring the ideas from the business uh, to basically, on the shop floor and then evolve it over the period of time, and can we sell it? So that's what I every time see how exactly the things are happening. I basically keep a lot of eye on. I would say I watch a lot of videos where I am trying to understand their business practices, understand what exactly is happening in the market, and this MBA is also helping me a lot from IIM, that how to see a business from multiple angles. So that's the whole point. Eventually, it will all again, I'll design something around it probably.
So, I think I could soon expect a startup kind of thing
Probably, I
from you.
mean, I'm trying to find my eureka moment. So, I would not say I'm not. I'm trying to find it. I'm waiting. I would again not say I'm waiting for it. Um, I mean, I'll have to eventually work on it. So for that eureka moment, so I'll have to, put myself to the work to create the startup. Yeah.
Well, all the best for that.
Thank you so much.
So, so for now, we have had some serious conversation. I think
Hmm.
we just need a break where we have to talk about your sense of humor because every time we hear a thing, and if that's a WhatsApp group, and we see smile in all our faces, and that's Harshit Joshi pooping with a meme or some gist. So, when you were a child, there were no such kind like memes or gifs. What was your way of expressing your sense of humor then during your childhood days? If there is some instance that you can narrate which was really funny or which went really bad, then you can share it here.
Okay, sure. So first of all, my sense of humor evolved because of the people with whom I was surrounded with. So the place where I belonged to and the school from which I studied, or I did my education, uh, so people roasted each other like anything. Okay. And when people roast each other like anything, you have to evolve your humor, because in the end, if you do not roast someone, you are bad in your humor. So that's one thing that enabled me to, improve my humor. Secondly, uh, I loved reading jokes, and I was in class sixth probably, where I came across this huge book on jokes. So I started reading that book and I started developing a good humor because of that particular book. And I eventually, by the time I was in 10th or 11th, I was actually writing my own jokes. So I started writing my own jokes, and then I started writing a lot of one-liners back then. Talking about a funny instance, I used to mock a teacher a lot, a lot. I mean, I used to act how she used to teach in her class. And one day I casually went to one of my friends. I never knew that that particular teacher, Meenal Saxena, is her name. Uh, is a family friend of my friend. So I went there, and I was just acting weirdly the way the teacher does, and she was sitting just in the next room while I was sitting. Yeah, and she eventually heard me enacting her. So I mean, that was one moment that I really find funny now, because we still enact when we school friend meets, we still enact. That was the instance where I actually I wrote my first story based on this particular instance. So I mean, that's one instance that I like the most. I mean, my initial instance with humor.
Okay, so it all started as a survival mode, and then you came to that creator mode.
Yes. Also, I mean, if my father used to read this newspaper called Dainik Bhaskar, and there was one caricature, and I used
Yeah.
to read that caricature every time. It was, I mean, newspapers will have a lot of caricatures back then. So I used to read these caricatures and try to understand what exactly is this happening. I mean, most of the caricatures were political, and I mean, I had no idea about politics back then. But yeah, I mean, that those are the memories that has actually helped me to create memes overall. I mean, over the period. But if we are mindful enough that we do not hurt someone's sentiment, in that case, it can actually help us to collaborate. Humor as a way of collaboration, I would say, can be a great thing. Also, I would say that, we need to, I mean, if you look at the people and if you look at the jokes, we first of all internalize the joke. Okay. We have been in that situation, and then I create something around it which is humorous, and then we externalize it. So humor first generates internally, and then I mean, it can be an observant humor, it can be a sarcastic humor, and then you externalize it. And this is basically the process that I usually do. I internalize, I try to understand, I try to observe what exactly is happening in the class, and then I externalize it through a template.
You know what, Harshit, I'm really happy that I asked you this question. Because, I never thought there are so many intricacies in humor since these many days. Since I asked this question, now I understand that there is a serious part, the variety of humors that we have,
Mhm.
all that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And all that I wish is Miss Saxena doesn't find this video on our YouTube algorithm.
Even if she finds, I mean, I'm okay with it. I mean, she has already seen me enacting her. So so yeah.
Initially, you spoke about education sector, which interests you a lot, and you are more related to that sector now.
Mhm.
So, we on a surface level know how the education sector transitioned or evolved uh, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So, can you give few more nuances, or with the current scenario that exists now, how do you view the future of education sector would be?
Okay. So, you know, I would say that, education sector is ever evolving currently, and there is this famous LinkedIn thing that is happening currently: learn and then unlearn, learn and then unlearn. So I would say that, the job profiles or the job descriptions, or I would say, let's say I'm into business development. 5 years down the line, I do not know if there would be a role called a business development manager, something like that. So a lot of roles are also evolving. And you would also see that, 10 years down I mean, 10 years ago, there was no such role as a DevOps engineer, probably 20 years from now, there would be a role called DevOps engineer. So education is always evolving. The most important part of education is that, whether you do the education online or offline, um, if you're learning something and if you're able to reproduce it and implement it, whether you take it online, offline, or through any other media, if you're not able to reproduce it and implement it, then the education is of no use. Okay. And coming from the education background, I mean, education sector, working in education sector for a very long time, what I have witnessed is that, a lot of people in India have actually started to invest in their education. Earlier, I would say, if I talk about figures, only 27%, I would not even say, only 27% of Indians actually complete their graduation, hardly 7% complete their masters, and PhD, God knows what the number is, probably 1 to 3% complete their PhD. But people have started becoming serious about the educations. The main problem with the education is that, the education sector, the companies that we see around, the education industry that we see around is built on the people coming from tier one cities. Okay, nobody from tier two city, from a lower income group, actually sees the education the way a person coming from a middle income, higher middle income group, uh, and how to invest the amount of money in education. So there is a lot of gap in education when it comes to tier two and tier three cities, and also the skills required for people coming from tier two, tier three cities from lower middle income group or lower income group is very different from people who are working in areas like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, etc. So there is a lot of gap right now. I would say the government of India is doing a great job. They have a lot of platform. I mean, they are actually supporting a lot of platforms which help uh, people coming from lower income group and lower middle income group to develop their skills in different sectors. So skillindia.com is one of the websites that actually develops the skill for such people. Also, language is also a big barrier when I talk about the education sector in India. Most of the education that we develop here in India, I would say, if let's say, I was actually, going through a certification program called Certified Scrum Master. The entire course is in English. Suppose if I want to teach the same course to someone in, let's say, their local language, I mean, I don't think that there is any facility for them. So again, that is one more thing. And the preliminary education, I would say in India, I mean the K-12 segment from kindergarten to class 12th. I mean, it is also broken when we look at the facilities provided by the government in the government school. The private schools are doing good, but if you look at again, tier two, tier three city, it's very, I would say, underdeveloped right now, and we need to have a lot of reforms in the education sector. Uh, Recently, I mean, when the bill was passed, I was so happy that Nirmala Sitharaman is talking about uh, providing internships or pushing towards the program of providing internships to the young graduates. If people get a lot of internship in the companies and they can still learn and they can skill up, it would be great opportunity for the industrial sector of India to utilize this talent. So uh, still the education sector needs a lot of reforms, and overall, uh, if I talk about how the education is happening in a tier one city for a upper middle income person and a higher income group person compared to that of someone coming from lower income group and lower middle income group, there is a huge gap, and we need to fill this gap so that everyone gets trained, everyone gets skilled accordingly.
Great. I never expected the social view that you have regarding the education sector because what I expected was more technical. But I'm really glad that you have that socialistic view too. Thanks for that. And now the next topic would be I just want to add a fun element here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be sharing an image with you over WhatsApp.
Okay.
Look into that and see what you understand from that image. And that's my question to you.
Okay, sure.
Okay?
It's bucket list. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
That's
That's a good way of asking what bucket list is. Okay. Okay, that's nice. Yeah. What I was basically looking at, is the colors of the bucket, what material it would be made up of. So yeah. And that's nice.
yeah.
So what would be my bucket list is the question, right? Uh,
Yes, yes, you're right.
so first thing is that, I want to open a tea shop in somewhere in the Himalayas. That's in the bucket list and stay there whenever I want to stay out of my job. A tea shop where I sell tea to the people and just speak with them about their regular work. Second is obviously volunteering again to educate young talents in India in their education journey. Try to help them to understand how the universe works. So these are the two things in my bucket list. Very simple bucket list. The third most important thing is that uh, I mean to be able to do this uh, before that, I mean, if I'm able to do these two things, I should have ample amount of money in my bank balance. So, so in able to in order to do this, I should be able to. First thing is that get financially independent, and then open a tea shop somewhere in the Himalayas and educate young school children.
Awesome, awesome. Good. If ever you get to, I'm sure you'll get to start a tea shop there. Do let me know. I'll travel to
Sure,
Himalayas, taste the chai.
sure,
Yeah. One more challenge for you, one more image coming. Just try to decode that
sure.
picture by picture. It's a sentence.
Break the me break the myth. Okay, right.
Yes, brilliant.
Okay. So
Break the myth that surrounds being a business development manager.
it's not easy. First of all, the myth is that, doing sales is tough, doing sales is hard. But if you have a way, or if you have designed a way around it, it will be easier. It will be easier to convince people. Uh, the only difficult part is, meeting the target. So, but you can easily achieve the target if you have a good convincing power. And having good convincing power is not that tough. All you need to do is to stand in the rain with the person who is there without the umbrella and try to understand the problem. So yeah, it's not that tough.
Got it. Great. So the next one would be a fun rapid fire round
Sure,
where it's all about this or that. Okay. Quick three questions.
okay.
One would be business development in education sector or pharma sector.
Mm,
What would be your preference?
my preference would be business development, education sector.
Great. Second, a hustling profession or calm, peaceful profession.
Hustling profession, obviously. I like hustling, so
Okay. Okay, cool. So the last one would be, what are you more comfortable with, memes or GIFs?
Memes, obviously, GIFs. GIFs. I mean, there is a lot of restriction in GIFs as well. It does not convey the entire message, while memes helps me to convey the entire message properly.
Challenge round to you. I have one situation that I'll tell you, and you have
Sure,
to soon pick up your mobile phone, create a meme for the situation.
sure, sure,
Okay.
sure, sure.
So let me take it from what you said in the bucket list. So you wanted to open a tea shop, and also you wanted to help students with education.
Mm-hmm.
Someone watches this video and he's deep pocketed and he's very much ready to sponsor because
Mm-hmm.
one you were looking for is huge amount of money and
Mm-hmm.
he's ready to give that double the time you really wanted. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what would be your thought? And you have to express it through a meme.
Okay, sure. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Check the meme.
Oh, good one, good one. Okay. So yes, Harshit, I really had a very good conversation, not just humor, but also very insightful. You have lot of thought process in you. You have a lot of ideas. I think you are a mix of a lot of skills, I would say, be it digital marketing, sales, or analytics, your problem solving skills, how you deal with people, and your educational background being into research, a studious student, holding the AAR 114, if I'm not wrong. So never knew Harshit had this face, this side. I'm really happy knowing more about you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you had a good conversation too.
So this is going to be two-way. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me, and secondly, you're welcome. For Yeah, you're welcome for uh, basically telling so many good things about me. I'm just a regular, everyday, normal person. So
That's your humbleness. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much, Harshit. I hope we meet in some other series of the same channel.
sure, sure.
Thanks again.
It would be my pleasure to come back to the channel and discuss a lot of topics. Sure,
Bye. Take care.
sure. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care.